Welcome back to Magic Hour Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Taylor Paige.
And this is Claire. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
So I am so excited to get into this episode today, all the Imbolc magic with Alice. It's our last of the Wheel of the Year series because we started with the spring equinox magic and now we're all the way through. So we've done this for a complete year, and I just love how different seasons kind of have their own themes or things that we did within the season. So this is a very much season 2 thing that is finishing here at the beginning of season 3. And it's just so special. But before we get into the episode, I know in episode 301, we were talking about our card pulls for the year and how I'm like relating to them differently. And like, what's so interesting to me is that younger me, when I did these card pulls for a decade, would always secretly hope and pray to pull the Empress or the High Priestess or the Magician as like my card for the year. And it would always be like the Tower. And so now here I am, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it because I enjoy it and it's fun, but I'm relating to it in a different way. And I don't really feel the need to be future oriented. I just want to be in the present and all of these things and blah, blah, blah. And Claire, would you guess what card I drew?
Stop.
And so
Which one? The Empress? Which one?
the High Priestess. So that is the card that I've always, like, my ego has always tried for and wanted that validation of. So I'm sitting and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I do want to do a card pull for 2026 of like what my theme is, this and that. So I'm like meditating, I'm sitting in the power. I'm like, and it was so funny because I even had the thought before I pulled the card, even if it's a challenging card, that's okay. I was like, I'll find the magic. I was like completely surrendered to whatever it would be. And I genuinely believed it. And that's when I pulled the High Priestess. And I feel like there is such a lesson in that because it's like the more you grasp and you want or need confirmation, the less you are that thing. And that's like where the shadow side of our magical practices can get when we're like, I am abundant, I am abundant, I am abundant. That can come from the energy of not being abundant or feeling abundant. And so you're just trying to like say you're abundant over and over and over and affirm it. But then when you actually root into your nervous system and feel safe and grounded and powerful and go on your own journey of like healing your stuff with money, that's when you pull that money card, like the 10 of Pentacles or whatever. So this was such an interesting moment for me because I got a new experience after relating in a new way. And it's because I actually am in the energetic space to embody that High Priestess energy now versus wanting to be told from the outside in that I was the High Priestess when I was trying before, but I was still in the path of becoming her, which is like the human journey. And I still don't think I'm fully like that archetype. I just think that that's more of my homework assignment this year. And that's like coming into 2026. The feeling that I have with pulling that card is like, okay, you pulled the High Priestess, but do you really know what that means? Do you really know what that means to embody the High Priestess? Because there's discrepancies with how you're showing up that this card is going to shake up in you. And one of those is how much I'm on social media, how much I consume, how much I'm sort of have these pockets where I have this pattern of revenge procrastination. I think a lot of people might be familiar with this concept of when you're feeling really spread thin or burnt out, and then revenge procrastination is sort of the way that you do nothing as a way of filling your cup back up, but it's very unintentional and it definitely doesn't serve me. And I especially do it before bed. Like Ari falls asleep at like 6 p.m. He wakes up at like 4:30 to go to the gym. So I don't know.
He's on that sun schedule.
Yeah, I'm like, that could not be me. And so he goes to bed at like 7 or 8. And I revenge procrastinate. Like I start my process of getting ready for bed at like 9 p.m. and I take like 2 hours to get ready for bed. And it's because part of it, I'm like scrolling. I'm just kind of looking at things. Like I'm not getting ready for bed. I'm just like in the bathroom with the door closed on my phone. And I realized like that's not the High Priestess. Like the High Priestess archetype is demanding more intentionality and listening within myself so that I don't fall into those pockets. The High Priestess is requiring a lot more silence, a lot more spaciousness. And it's like we think of these things as these like sexy archetypes that we want to be, but the actual truth of embodying them holds a mirror up to all the areas where I'm not being intentional and not showing up as my highest.
Yeah, I love that. So I have so many thoughts about it. I mean, I think it's such a cool thing to look at it like that as a guide. It's like you clearly feel this call to embody her archetype. And instead of receiving the card of being like, did it, got it, now you can see it as an opportunity to explore how you can more fully embody it. And I feel like it's also just such a beautiful nod from your guides and the universe that in this moment of deep acceptance of where you're at, I think that's something that it's so amazing because it totally corresponds with what I was talking about with my therapist last night. But I think so often, we want to fix ourselves, or we feel that we need to fix ourselves, or we feel that we need to like get a certain thing. And so often these card pulls center around that of like, "Oh, just tell me that all my dreams are going to come true this year." That's what I do. I'm like, tell me that I'm going to be successful this year and find love. Like, let me see it in the cards. And I feel a lot of anxiety around what I'm going to pull. And a big thing that we were talking about last night is just that radical acceptance of exactly where you are in this moment. Like you said, if we're reaching for this other thing, we're not really here in this moment, embracing the flaws and magic of where we're at. And so I feel like it's no accident that in that reading where you literally were just in such full acceptance of where you are right now and just embracing, like, yeah, whatever lessons I need to hear, I'm open to that. That's when this affirmation came to you. And when you were ready to step into that, it's like that almost feels like the portal, the doorway to her archetype is that deep, unconditional acceptance and love of who you are and where you are in this exact moment.
Yeah. And first of all, our therapist, I actually saw her yesterday too.
Oh, did you? We love you, Rachel.
We love you. And secondly, yes. And it's what I feel so called to share is that this place of me being in true acceptance of what is, which is more in alignment with the high priestess archetype. So I could finally pull her, is the result of all of those tower years, of all of those three of sword years, of all of those five of pentacle years. Like all of the years that were difficult were helping me get the lessons to get to this version of self. The high priestess doesn't just become the high priestess, it's the summation of all of the ways that her sword has been sharpened on basically the grindstone of life. And it kind of reminds me, I want to share too. So I have a couple different mediumship mentors. One of them I was working with yesterday, and I was going through this moment where I had sort of like a really tough reading experience with someone who was a major skeptic. And no matter what I said to him, like accurate evidence AF, talking about who's on the other side, their name, who they're with, his dynamic with his brother, all of this stuff that was really accurate. And he was just so negative and cynical and harsh and closed. And I think I've been really spoiled in my career in that I am surrounded by so many loving people that support my work. People wait for a while to sit with me and they're usually very excited and open. And the work that I do is a co creation, like the sitter's energy affects it a lot. And so I just hadn't, since my mediumship development, been in a situation like that where it's like, nah, like giving me nothing, not moved by the evidence I was sharing, even though it was like, whatever. So that like literally made me physically sick when it happened. And it was so triggering. And it brought up some deeper wounds within myself of times I've been gaslit by narcissistic abusers in my life where I share my truth and my wisdom and it just gets gaslit and downplayed and dismissed. And so it was like very triggering in a lot of ways. And sometimes when you're on your mediumship development journey, you can get into these slumps where things like that start to get you in your head and you start getting hard on yourself and XYZ. But the way that this connects in with what we're talking about today is my mentor wanted me to get into the soul level reason for this lesson. And she was leading me in like a guided meditation. Part of the guided meditation was looking at my younger self and my older self. And when I saw my older self, the aspect of her that she wanted me to see was like the most self-sourced version of peace, love, and trust. Like it did not matter what was happening outside of my future self. She self sourced that complete trust in herself and spirit. And what she said to me is, what you're going through now is leading you to me. And that's very much similar to this high priestess thing, where it's like, that's the archetype that I'm really being tasked with to embody this year, and all of these tests and lessons and crunchy things that came before it are leading me to her. So I just think it's really powerful. And it's not saying like you need to be this right away. It's saying it's an invitation to get the lessons in the present moment to join them.
Yeah, I think that's such an important piece of it because, I've often talked about this analogy of a mountain and that like my path on my career is like walking up this trail of this mountain. And you can see that people are at the top. So you know you can get to the top. And you're not at the start of the trail because you've been walking for a while. But I think sometimes we can forget that we are on this journey and we want to get to a certain level of success or even level of healing or, find partnerships. And I think because we can't see our growth in that manner, we sometimes forget that what we do today is what's building that, is the steps on that mountain. And I think, every time you pulled the tower, maybe that made you feel defeated, like, still this, or why am I not successful today? Or why am I not, where I want to be today? But it's like, you have to get there. And this is you getting there. This is you building that self love. Even the hard moments are you building it. In fact, like, definitely the hard moments, the moments where you have to turn inward and start again or sit with yourself through the pain, all of that is the growth. And I think sometimes we forget that and just want to see like the reward at the end. And then I feel like when we do finally get to that place, it feels so like, oh, of course, like all of that was leading me here. It's so obvious once we get there. But when we're in it, I think it can feel kind of like stagnation. But I always try and trust and remind myself, like, this is you finding that success. This is you growing and changing into your most brilliant self. Trust this process. You are on your path.
Absolutely. And it's like that deep knowing after a decade of doing this work that allowed me to be completely at peace with whatever wanted to be seen this year, whatever my focus was, whether it was more release, even if I pulled the death card, like whatever it was, I was like, okay, I'm ready. And it was that level of trust, surrender, and presence that enabled me to pull the high priestess, which I had wanted to do, like I said, for like literally my entire life.
I love it. So cute.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share that story because I found it really incredibly powerful, and I found connecting with my future self and the essence, like when you connect with your future self, it's like connecting with a spirit person. There's so many dimensions to them, but they're highlighting an aspect that they want you to see. And that aspect was self-sourced trust, love, and peace. And I think it's really a powerful exercise to invite your higher self in and what they want you to see. And if, especially if, say, you pulled your card for the year and it's like something that is challenging for you or scaring you or dysregulating you in some way, I invite you to ask your higher self to sit with you and show you what the result of this crunchiness, growth spurt, healing moment is then creating in them that you're being led to right now. I think it's such a powerful way to look at it.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm so excited to get into this conversation with Alice Kendall today. Alice was born in the north of England and has been connected to magic for as long as she can remember. First discovering tarot and spirituality in childhood through her mother, her practice weaves together lunar and seasonal living, plant magic, herbs, oils, divination, and candle magic. She is deeply guided by the spirit world and the presence of her spirit guides and ancestors, and she regularly attends her local spiritualist church. Early in her career, she worked in the music industry in London. Later, during a transformative time living in Goa, India, she began to reconnect with her creative, artistic, and magical roots. Her popular Instagram page, Starlight and Sage, offers wisdom and support for fellow witches and spiritual seekers. Her collage art incorporates enchanting themes, celebrating the cosmos, ancient mystical places, the beauty of the seasons, plants, and animals. Alice is the author and artist of the Moon Magic Oracle. She currently lives with her husband in Surrey, UK. Welcome, welcome, Alice Kendall. Alice, welcome to Magic Hour. It's so exciting to have you here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me on, and it's so nice to connect with you on here.
Yes, I've followed you on Instagram for a really long time, and we've been doing a magical Wheel of the Year series on the podcast where for each witchy holiday, I invite on somebody on Instagram or a witch that I connect with. And this is actually the last one because this is the last holiday. We've done all of them except for Imbolc. So I'm so excited to get into this with you today.
Well, I'm so glad that I was included because the the Year is really important to me.
Yes, I'm so excited. So, before we get into it, the first question that I always ask is what is your big three? And I know you said you wanted to say your Venus too. So, please tell us all of them.
My Mercury. So, yeah, I'm a Leo sun, and then I'm a Sag rising and a Sag moon. So, I think people just say, oh, that's such a lot of fire. But the reason why I wanted to talk about Mercury is because it's in Virgo. So I think that that really grounds me. So it just gives another aspect to the personality.
Absolutely. And astrology is so multidimensional that even the big three is such a zoomed out lens of who we really are. So I'm like, welcome all of the inner planets that we want to talk about. And that makes a lot of sense with your Mercury placement too, as like the writer and researcher and all of that. And I'm also a Sag moon. So I find that a lot of us in the spiritual community and the podcast community have Sag moons. It's a really common one that I see.
Okay, brilliant.
I love that. So, the second question that we like to ask is how does your intuition speak to you?
I think if we're talking about my psychic ability, I would say I hear things. So it's on like a hearing vibration more than anything. So I will hear words, I will hear phrases or statements if I'm asking and I want to know something, rather than visually, although I can occasionally see things, especially, well, more in dreams or in meditation or if I'm just waking up in the morning, just as I'm starting to wake up. And then I have like an inner knowing as well. So I just tend to know things. It's like a clear kind of knowing. I don't know what the word is for that.
Claircognizance.
Yeah, claircognizance. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. That's beautiful. And while you were creating your Lunar Magic Oracle deck, did you hear phrases or keywords or things from your guides? Like, I feel like hearing is such a helpful one for writers.
Definitely the hearing, the phrases, or I'd just be going about my day. So there's the side of it where I'm creating the images. So there's that. And then there's writing all the meanings as well. So if we first talk about writing the meanings, yes, I would get things just dropping into my head like words, phrases, or somebody would say something, or yeah, just get inspiration from it could happen at any time. And then I'd have to get my notes out on my phone and write it down straight away to save it for when I got to the part when I was sitting down writing. And I actually did all the images first. That was the first task, which took a really, really, really long time. And then started the writing towards the end of the process. And that probably only took me a month or something like that.
Yeah. And we're referencing, by the way, Alice's Lunar Magic Oracle deck, which we're going to get into later in the interview, but so gorgeous and so exciting. I just feel called to like put out there because a lot of people in this community are spiritual and creators and artistic. And for me, feeling is one of my strongest psychic senses as well as knowing. And so I can kind of like feel when a project wants to come in, whether it's a new workshop or an episode for the podcast. And I'll get my notes app out and I'll just start getting downloads and inspiration throughout the day and throughout the weeks. And then when I actually sit down to create it, I have this full thing to go off of and play off of. And so it's like these ideas enter our fields and are ready to co-create with us. And we just catch little glimmers and then put it all together. So I love that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, but I like the idea of the feeling that you're getting. I've never really thought of that.
Yeah, I'm a deep, deep feeler. So I can just, at this point, because, I'm a professional, intuitive, and evidential medium, I can just feel when it's capital F feeling instead of lowercase f feeling. And I know I'm in co creation in those moments.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and I read in your bio that you frequent your local spiritualist church, and I thought that was very cool too. So, are you a spiritualist?
I am, I must be, yes. So I've been going to spiritualist church since I was about 8 or 9 with my mum when we lived in Sheffield, where I was born. And I now live in Surrey in the south of England. So we started going back then. My mum is a psychic medium and has been probably since childhood. So we always used to go, and it was just really normal for me to go and watch platform mediums bringing spirit through, and yeah, to this day we still go. So maybe on a Sunday, not every Sunday, it's in the evening, and I just love it.
That's so amazing. I'm not a spiritualist myself, but I have great respect and pretty much believe everything the spiritualists do. I studied at Arthur Findlay College in Stansted. I've really gone deep into a lot of spiritualist books on famous mediums and pioneers of the movement. And I just find it so inspiring. And I also had a really psychic, spiritual mom growing up. She's in the spirit world now.
I know, yeah.
Yes, and so I'm just curious, like, how did that impact you growing up, never being maybe afraid of your spiritual gifts, but it's being so normalized and encouraged and you being part of a spiritual community so young? How do you feel like that has set you up for success with your own connection?
It always felt really normal to me. And the thing is, my life did start out like that. And then by the time I was about 12, 13, I was really into astrology and reading lots of astrology books like Linda Goodman. I don't know if you remember those, probably on my bookcase here behind me. And then when I was 18, I got my first tarot deck gifted to me by my mum, of course. And so, yeah, it's just always been there. And I think with Instagram, because it was Instagram that really, really brought me into the spiritual community. And I think it's about maybe 9 years ago now when I joined Instagram, maybe 10 years ago, I'm not sure. That was like in my second era of spirituality because it's a long story, but I went to live in India for a while, and that's where I met my hubby. And while I was over there, I wasn't working so much. I was working in my career. I was doing it remotely. This is 16 years ago. It's a long time ago. But I was doing less work and I was slowly coming out of it. And I had a lot more time on my hands. So I started using the tarot every single day and really, really studying it and getting lots of tarot books and just kind of really, really learning all the meanings. But more than that, just learning everything about tarot and reading. And that's when, so about 16 years ago, is when I started reading tarot, using tarot every single day. So I think that's probably what set me up for where I am now. I do tarot readings, not for a living, but I do them professionally on Etsy. So it's just something that I do part time. But yeah, I think that was the foundation of everything.
Love that. So when this comes out, it will be a few days before Imbolc. And I'm wondering if you can tell the community a little bit about this holiday and what it signifies and where we're at energetically in the wheel of the year.
Okay, so it's going to be around February 1st or 2nd, and it's a cross-quarter festival on the Wheel of the Year. It's halfway between the winter and the spring, so it's right in the middle. And it's a fire festival, but it's more focused on candle magic or the hearth and home. Also, it's all about new beginnings, it's about purification, and it's about renewal.
I find it so synchronistic, your big three as a Leo double Sag here to talk to us about this fire festival. So, in between winter and spring, it's that halfway point. We are so close to the light really coming back, and it's like taking everything that we've integrated and learned and reflected on through that winter internal yin period, and the new stirrings of life starting to poke their head up.
That's what I wanted to say. So If you go outside, there might still be snow on the ground. This is probably more in the northern hemisphere, but you'll start to see snowdrops coming through and crocus. And also, it's like animals coming out of hibernation. So it's about awakening and coming back from the depths of winter. It feels a lot more positive and it feels really hopeful as well.
And so, what are some of the correspondences with this holiday?
Yeah, so I always like to look into animal correspondences, deities, and plants as well. They're actually all in my deck, but it's for the moon, so it's different. So Imbolc has one main goddess who represents Imbolc, and that's Brigid. And she is a goddess of wisdom, healing, childbirth, motherhood, and smithing, like blacksmithing as well. So she's a really, really beautiful goddess to connect with at this time. And then with animals, you have sheep and lambs are really, really important because it is that time of year when the new lambs are born. You've also got swans and you have serpents, which are a symbol of fertility as well. And then you have animals like that are coming out of hibernation, like the groundhog.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't realize serpents were associated with this time of year. They're one of my favorite animals and animal guides, but it makes sense with the theme of like hope and renewal and the shedding of old skin.
Yeah, definitely. I think the serpent has got something to do with Bridget as well.
Yeah, I think serpents are one of the like the Ouroboros or the snake eating its tail is one of like the earliest things found in the earliest places of goddess worship, I think. So I think serpent has always been historically connected to the goddess. And I think there's no accident that it was the serpent in the Garden of Eden as a symbol as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, really interesting. So, what are some good ritual ideas for this portion of the Wheel of the Year? What are some good types of magic or spells or anything like that?
Think there's a couple of really simple things that you could do. So you could just create an Imbolc altar. If you have an altar at home, or even if you don't have an altar, you can create something really simple. So you could just pop something like some snowdrops in a pot on there. You could also add, blackberries are sacred to Bridget, so you could put a little bowl of blackberries on there. Rosemary is a herb that's symbolic of Imbolc as well. Also, of course, candles. Lots of lovely white candles everywhere. So that's one thing to do, reset your altar. And also, I would say just go outside and have a walk and look for signs of spring, look for the plants coming through, the crocus, the snowdrops. Well, if you live in the southern hemisphere, it's going to be completely different, but they would actually be celebrating Lammas anyway in the southern hemisphere, wouldn't they?
Yes. And I feel like both Llamas and Imbolc are the ones that are like the least glamorized, like all of the other winter solstice, summer solstice, the equinox, like those are big celebrations. And I feel like Llamas and Imbolc are sort of these times where we're in just the dead of summer or the dead of winter, even though we're not, but it's like it's the longest point where we've been in that season. We're ready for a change. And I think in this like modern capitalistic society, it's so hard to just rest in one energy. Like we always want the new and we always want to change. We always want to be productive. And I think with both, there's a level of surrender to the elements, whether it's summer or winter, that is really uncomfortable for us as like the machine part of ourselves that feel like we have to always be productive, whereas the human part really needs that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with Imbolc as well, coming from the Northern Hemisphere and it being now, as we record in almost Yule, it is the depths of winter. And then you go through the whole of January and it's just so dark still, although it is gradually getting lighter. And I think you really need some hope and some optimism that spring is around the corner. So it feels really hopeful.
And I think a really great type of magic for this time of year is candle magic because it is so tied to the flame, the new beginnings. So, do you want to talk to us a little bit about candle magic and how it works?
Yeah, I did think about something that you could do for Imbolc around candle magic. So I would just take a white candle. It could be just a spell candle because they don't take very long to burn down, or just a white taper candle and have it in a really nice holder container. And so you can dress the candle or anoint it if you want to with an oil of your choice. You can actually use an oil, a carrier oil first, or some olive oil or something like that. And then if you want to add essential oils, I would go for something like rosemary or lavender. You could roll it in dried lavender or the rosemary that you just get from the supermarket that's for cooking in the jar. You could roll it in that. And I would say add some kind of sigil, like carve a sigil onto the candle, whatever suits. Because I'm going to tell you that what you should be doing is writing down an intention on a small piece of paper. So, because Imbolc is also about intention setting as well, but it's early days for intention setting. It's not like when you get to Ostara and you're really, into your manifesting by then. But I think it's like a gentle kind of intention setting at Imbolc, just planting some small seeds and just kind of seeing where things might go. So write that on a small piece of paper, what your intention is. And as you light the candle, just set it down next to it and just watch the candle burn down.
Yeah, I love that. And I like what you said about gentle intention setting because I think that's so dead on with the energy of this part of the wheel of the year. It's less about saying, I want to manifest $1 million and I want this specific thing and I want that specific thing. And gentle manifestation is like really checking in with how I'm feeling right now with radical honesty and saying, okay, what do I need more of? What do I feel? What's my real self love intention with this flame? And that will trickle out into manifesting what is meant for you and bringing in your highest timeline without the reins of control being held so tightly. It's like, just as the animals are like stretching and waking up and coming out, starting to come out of their caves, that's the energetic frequency of the candle magic that we're doing now. Like, okay, universe, okay, guides, okay, spirit, I'm also stretching. I'm a reborn version of myself after this dark winter. And now I'm starting to poke my head out of my cave and manifest from that gentle place. And I think a beautiful thing that you could incorporate too, talking about cards, is like pulling a card and co-creating with your guides about what that intention could be. Like sometimes our divination practices infuse our magic with bigger things than we could have thought for ourselves or more aligned things when we feel like we can only focus on one area of life and like all of our magic is hitting a dead end because we're always only focused on career. We're always focused on love. Like sometimes divination helps open it up to an aligned intention as well.
Yeah, you could definitely ask your guide, shuffle the cards and be asking, what kind of things should I be looking at? What should I be thinking of manifesting? Just give me some guidance.
Hmm. And can we go back to when you were talking about anointing the candle? Because not everybody in the community knows about that. We haven't really done a deep dive on candle magic.
I think it's really up to you what you want to use, what kind of oil you want to use. Like I did mention olive oil. There are so many oils out there. The ones that you buy that are more connected, like carrier oils, they could be quite good. Any of the carrier oils like grapeseed or avocado, whatever you have in the cupboard, really. But you can mix it in with the essential oil as well. Or like I say, you can roll it in the dried herbs so that it just gets completely coated. And then as it burns down, then the herbs, whether that's rosemary or lavender or whatever, burn down with it. But I do think using essential oils as well. Well, first of all, you're going to get the scent of it as well as it's burning. But it's up to you, really. It's up to the individual.
Yeah, and for me, when I use oil to anoint a candle, I like to do essential oil because of the correspondence of whatever essential oil I'm using. So if I'm doing like a love spell, I'll do rose oil or I'll do like orange blossoms for joy, just whatever your associations are as well. So it just adds an extra dimensionality to what it's like a completely optional step. But if you have a strong connection to an oil or a scent, that could help infuse the spell for you. And then I also want to go back to when you said put a sigil on the candle because not everybody knows what that is either.
So a sigil will be some kind of symbol to do with witchcraft, or I mean, runes are, correct me if I'm wrong, I think runes are sigils as well, like rune letters. You could choose one of those, especially something that corresponds with your intention, what you've written down on the piece of paper. So just be really, really careful, get a sharp knife and just carve it on there.
Yeah. And so for sigils too, if you write out your intention, I think you take out all the vowels and the repeating consonants, and then you have the shapes of those lines, and then you put them together in a symbolic way that then creates the unique sigil or symbol that then holds the frequency of that sentence, that name, that intention. And again, that meaning just infuses the candle with another layer of intentionality
A
and
magic,
magic.
yeah.
So, this is so funny because I invited you to do this episode a really long time ago. And then we were like, let's wait because your deck is coming out. I think I asked you to maybe be our Samhain guest,
Or Mabon. Yeah.
something a long time ago, and you were like, let's wait because I have a project coming out. I was like, great. So what's so synchronistic to me is that this Imbolc of February 1st, the snow moon is exact on February 1st. And this is so perfect to me because your deck, Lunar Magic, goes through all of the 12 moons of the year. Yeah. And I was like, what a perfect crossover that we're going to be talking about moon magic and Imbolc, and that the snow moon falls on Imbolc. And so, if you want, you can talk about the snow moon and the energy there, or I can read what your beautiful book says about it. So, however you want to go.
I'll tell you a little bit, and then you can read a little bit from the book if you like. That'd be really nice. So, when I was writing about the snowman, of course, I connected it with Imbolc because it just all feels so similar. It's the same time of year. And I think that I talk about in the meaning of the snow moon is that how we are starting to set some intentions and planting some small seeds, but it's all done in this very, very gentle way.
Yes, I love that. And so, some keywords that you have in your book on the snow moon is small changes, which I love, which we really talked about, of like gentle, small. These are like keywords. Like, we're not pushing ourselves to completely transform into a new version with all this crazy new stuff. It's just being gentle, checking in, looking at what would feel good right now. Transitions, planting seeds, fresh starts. And your question for reflection in the manual on page 105 is, what can I feel hopeful and optimistic about? And I think when we're in the dark for so long and we have that promise of spring on the horizon, but yet it's been months of darkness, I think sometimes people have seasonal depression. Sometimes we can feel really down. Sometimes it can be a really difficult time. And so I love this idea of like, what can I feel optimistic about? Because I think it's a shade different than what am I grateful for? And like, what am I grateful for is a big one that everyone always comes back to. But I love, and this is very Sag moon, Sag rising to me because Sagittarius is like the queen of optimism. And I love that idea of, okay, like I know that nothing lasts forever. I know it's not going to be dark forever. Like, what can I start to get excited about? What can I even put on my calendar for the warmer months that I'll look forward to leading up to them? Sometimes an intention can also be like a joyful plan that you've put in the future to look forward to. So I think that that is really beautiful.
Yeah, planning things with friends, get togethers, just that whole like, coming out from this hibernation. I'm back and I'm awakening and I'm ready to do some new things and maybe have some fun.
Yes, absolutely. And so, yeah, with the snow moon, the spiritual message for this time from your lunar magic oracle is, look up at the sky because a bright, beautiful moon is shining down on you. The snow moon card heralds a time to begin planting seeds that will slowly grow over the coming months. It is a moment to reflect on your dreams and goals. So take the time to decide what you want to cultivate in your life and focus your energy on that. Sometimes new awakens within you, and you may be ready to implement fresh ideas and make changes. The snow moon brings a calm and gentle energy to help you take those initial steps towards setting something new in motion. If you have experienced a tough time recently, rest assured because those difficulties are being resolved and ending. There is a powerful desire for change. Now is a good time to break free from the past. It is okay to let yourself have hope again. And if you have felt your light dimming, take heart as it is beginning to shine brightly again. Things are improving and there's renewed optimism. So try to focus on the positive things in your life and know that the good times are returning. This full moon cleanses and purifies the soul, enabling you to release any stagnant energy that may have been picked up along the way. You may need a change of scenery, so visiting a new place away from your usual environment could be highly beneficial. I love that so much.
Yeah, that does sound and feel really optimistic.
And we were talking about this briefly before we hit record, but I started working with your deck, with my daily card pulls in anticipation of this interview. And I can so tell the double Sagittarius. I can also feel the spirit influence speaking through these words as well, because this deck to me is so optimistic and empowering. And it really focuses on like the solution and goddess energy and magic and hope. And I know we were saying before we hit record that, and we can talk about this a little deeper, how you were like, I didn't want to put another deck out there that was too dark, or say it in your words, because we were talking about it before.
I didn't want anyone that's bought this deck or had it given to them to shuffle a card, pull it, and it give them some bad news or a bad message, because life is hard enough as it is. And of course, bad things do happen and we go through problems and challenges, but I think it would be the worst thing to, be going to a deck to try and get some answers and some hope and optimism, and then be given some kind of really negative message. So why would we need that in our lives? So I think that was the point of it. Of course, I do talk about, yeah, certain things can go wrong. Sometimes we can be faced with problems. It seems to go on forever. I do write about things like that in the deck. But then I try to give solutions. I try to think, you could try this, you could try that. You can speak to your guides, you can speak to your ancestors, you can speak to your loved ones in the spirit world, and they will really try and help you. They can't come back down to earth and move mountains for you, but they'll definitely help you as much as they can. They'll impress you to go and do things yourself, to make changes and hopefully come out of these difficult situations. So you can always ask for help and you can always tune in.
Yeah. And it just is so synchronistic to me with the time of year as well, because we're talking about gentle intentions. And to me, this feels like a gentle deck where it's just like you said, people are sometimes when they turn to self divination in really fragile states. And when they pull a card, like the last thing they need is something that affirms their biggest fear. And I think about this a lot as an intuitive and evidential medium is like, is this message, it might be accurate, but is it helpful to the psyche of the person in front of me?
It's not helpful.
It's not helpful. And I think we've lost our way a little bit in the way that it's all about the ego of the practitioner getting it right, rather than what my mentor Matt Tao says is like, is it helpful, hopeful, or healing? And if not, that's not a message from spirit. And I feel like in our industry, there's so much doom and gloom. There's so much mistaking imagination for intuition. There's so much getting infiltrated by news and then making scary predictions based off of that are not really connected to spirit or anything hopeful, healing, or helpful. And so I was so refreshed by this deck. I think it's like exactly the energy that we need now, because people pulling cards and doing deep dives, like they need hope. And that's the other thing too, is like we know what's going wrong in our life. We know what the problems are. We know what's happening. Like give us the solution to it. Give us something helpful.
Yeah. Or tell us that we will have the strength to overcome. It is deep within us, and we can find that strength. There's always ways through. I mean, actually, it's funny because, I was writing notes for about a year of the meanings that I wanted to have in the cards. And the year before, maybe the 12 months before, a lot of really difficult things had happened to me. And as in, well, everyone has difficult things happening all the time, and people have problems that they have to get through. But I just felt like this is really not good and I'm not enjoying it. But I can write about this and I can write about how I came out the other side and overcame.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people are in different energetic, emotional states with varying degrees of fragility within that. I think this is a really good deck if you're in a really fragile state and you do just need something a little more helpful and hopeful and healing. And I just love like to me when I read the descriptions in your book, it just gives me the feeling of the voice of spirit. Like I can really tell how channeled these messages were.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. That's
Yes,
really nice.
absolutely. And so, something I like to ask witches when they come on the podcast, which, by the way, would you use that word to describe yourself?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, me too. When I have witches on the podcast, I always get excited to ask if there's any example because a lot of people newer to the practice listen to this. Well, there's a whole spectrum of practitioners that listen to this podcast, but I like to ask to help expand the mind of the hummingbird community about any story of a time where you cast a spell or did a magical practice and it had either a surprising, cool, or unexpected outcome in a way that just really it can expand our mind and what's possible with magic.
Okay, something does come to mind straight away. It was more like, I wouldn't say this was a spell. This was a manifestation that I worked on for a really long time. So I do this monthly manifestation practice on the new moon, and I've been doing it since about 2020 during the time when we all couldn't leave our houses. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And Yasmin Boland started going on Facebook every day and she was just popping up and then she was talking about her moonology and her book and lots of people were going on these it was just like Facebook Live, I think. They were going on every day. And she started explaining about how she did these new moon wishes. So me and my bestie started doing them together. So you always do it on the new moon. So I have a whole journal that's dedicated to these new moon wishes. And so on the day of the new moon, you just have to write down, I think she said write about 10 things down that you want to achieve, that you want to manifest, that wishes or intentions that you want to bring in. I would always write a lot more. So when I started working on the images for the cards in the deck, I thought, well, I'm going to need someone to publish this, I think. I could have published it, I could have self published, but I didn't really know what to do. And I thought, no, I think I could probably get someone to publish this for me. So I started manifesting it and I started manifesting that someone would come and find me so that I wouldn't have to go out to any of these publishing houses, that they would come and find me. And so I probably wrote it down for about 6 months every month. And then I had an email from Jennifer, who works at the publisher that published my cards, and she just got in touch with me and said, I see you're creating art, I see you have your Instagram Starlight and Sage, and you've got a bit of a following. And she said, have you ever wanted to make your own cards? And I said, absolutely. I've been creating some cards already. So that actually did work out.
Wow, I love that. And I also love the repetition of that, like how you wrote it every month, every month, every month. I think there's something really powerful about repetition and not getting deterred if there is an instant gratification, but like the trusting of the timing and the repetition, it's like it's worthy of repeating. It's not something that's going away. It's something that is aligned and you're trusting the how of it, but that you just keep putting it in there. I think that's really special.
And keep believing and just knowing that it absolutely can happen.
Yeah. So, can you go a little bit more into the way that you work with the moon for your manifestation practice?
Yeah, so the main things that I do are the new moon wishes and intentions, and a lot of things have really worked out for me over the last few years. There are still some things that I'm still working on. And I think the new moon is my favorite time of the month. A lot of people say the full moon, but it's really strange. Sometimes I don't really get on very well with full moon phases. I get super emotional. I just feel like I don't want to come out from under the duvet. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes it feels good, but I always really like the new moon. And then you've got obviously from the new moon, the moon is then waxing and right up to the full moon. So that is the time to take more action, do more things, set your intentions, but actually put everything into practice as much as you can as well. You don't just write things down in a book. You have to do everything that you need to do. You have to take the inspired action and just keep working at things. So you do that, you're more busy right up until the full moon. And then once the full moon happens, then you're meant to do less because the moon is then waning. I mean, it doesn't always work out like that because if people have full-time jobs, they have to go to work every single day and work hard. And we don't all have time to be taking rest and doing less when the moon is waning, but you are supposed to do a little bit less.
Maybe a way that we can interpret that in our modern world is like be less hard on yourself, be less militant with your structures and your routines, like getting your steps every day or doing this XYZ thing. Like, just when it's waning, if we can't just rest and lay in a field all day, how can we be on energy conserve mode? How can we be less attached to outcomes, less hard on ourselves, less judgmental of ourselves and others? Like, that might be a more attainable modern way of talking about the waning moon.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I like that.
Yeah, I feel very similar with full moons. I was actually born during the new moon. So I really like the new moon as well. I love darkness. I'm like a Scorpio sun in the eighth house. And I just really do love the darkness. And I love this darker part of the year that we're in. But yeah, full moons make me go a little crazy. And they kind of either make me feel really tired or really wired. And it's hard to find a good middle ground for me.
Yeah, but I often find as well that, the full moons can bring things to an end. So maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not a good thing, but they can bring things to an end, things to a closure. But they can also bring things full circle, and that's really positive. So just depends which full moon it is.
I know. And that's why I'm so excited to keep working with your deck and learning more because that's something that's definitely a gap in my spiritual knowledge of like the snow moon, the rose moon, like these different moons. So I'm really excited to keep learning from you. Something I really think is valuable about the full moon is that it's like a dial switch being turned up and it makes it hard to avoid the feelings or things we've been avoiding in some of the other moon phases where it's easier to tune it out. And I think that for me, the reason the full moon is so powerful as a moment to release is that it's a moment of full vision and clarity with a full illumination and the dial on our emotions turn so up. So it's like, oh, this thing is bothering me, or I'm irritable, or this is coming up. And it's really making clear what needs to go in ways that other times don't for me.
Yeah, it can bring things to a head. And even if you're avoiding something, I think it can bring things to a head or bring things to a close. It can push you. Perhaps the universe is pushing you, or the moon, I don't know. But yeah, it's very powerful. And it amplifies everything.
Exactly. And when things are amplified, it's clear if it's aligned or not. And when it's more subtle, it's easy to ignore it or deny it or push through it. And when it's amplified, we almost have to look at it. And that can be almost like some tough love from the moon if we're hiding truths from ourselves.
Yeah, I agree.
Something I really like about your deck as well that I've never seen anywhere else is on page 22 of the little booklet. It's the deck interview spread. I've never heard of this concept of kind of getting to know your deck and bond with your deck. And I think this is a really valuable practice because, so basically, it's a spread of 6 questions. Like, how would you describe yourself? How would you help me grow? What are your strengths? What do you want to help me with? What is the best way to work with you? And a final message from the deck. And I love that because it's kind of turning the tables. It's like we're always explaining ourselves to the universe and the deck. It's like, no, like I'm interviewing you right now. Are you in an energetic alignment for me? Do you work with my guides well? How will this deck help me? And I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, what do you think of me? Do you even like me? Well, I can't say that that was my original idea because having been on Instagram for so long now and been really, really focused on tarot as well for a long time, and I've been creating spreads as well and popping them onto my account for a long time. But yeah, that was not my original idea. That someone else came up with that a long, long time ago, the deck interview spread. But then I made my own. I put my own questions in there. So I think that spread, I probably posted that spread quite a few years ago and then might have just tweaked it to go into the guidebook. But yeah, I'm glad you like it.
I think it's such a fun idea and it helps you understand the deck and understand if it gels with you. And there are certain decks where every single card I pull is like, yeah, that is aligned. That's what I needed to hear. There is no denying that day to day, as my experience changes, the cards reflect that. Then there's certain decks where I'm just like not resonating. It doesn't give me that full body yes when I pull it. I'm not really understanding. It's so out of tandem or out of left field. And I feel like that's just showing like when you time and time again pull cards like that that just do not have the feeling of resonance for you, that that's not the deck that's an energetic match to what wants to work with you at this time. And so that's a perfect way to like interview the deck or see if you vibe with the deck. So I thought that was really fun as someone that loves to work with cards too.
Yeah. Like you start using a new deck and you're asking it questions, and the card that comes out just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So it is, like you say, out of alignment.
Yeah. And I find that those are usually decks that have more of those kind of negative cards isn't exactly the right way to say it because I don't think it's that. But for me, the Lunar Magic Oracle deck kind of fits. Like, yeah, it's so empowering and helpful that I don't know. I just feel like everything could fit in to help you that day. It's just a very uplifting deck, basically. And I really resonate with it. It's like the world is dark enough. We don't need our divination spaces to be dark too.
No, we need some light. We need the healing. We need to feel love. And that was what I was and I wanted it to help people grow. I wanted it to help people solve their problems. Just bring some lightness. Yeah. The light of the moon.
Yes, I love that. And the moon is so nurturing and healing too. It's like the mother, you know? And I think that that's also a sign to me of like really true masters at their intuitive craft aren't just giving the message that might be accurate of doom and gloom. They're getting that, understanding the experience, and then giving the message that will be the most helpful to the collective or the sitter. It doesn't matter. It's the same principle no matter what format. And I think that that is like a next level evolution than just relaying accurate information. It's then understanding the very fragile subconscious health of the collective, the sitter, whoever's engaging in your content. And I think that's an art that really the collective spiritual space could use more of so that we don't turn into the same sort of fear mongering that a lot of us came from that we don't want to then regurgitate and replicate in our industry.
Yeah, I really agree with what you're saying there. And some people might say, "Oh, if there's nothing negative in this deck, that's just spiritual bypassing," or I don't really like that term anyway. No, it's not. We're not saying don't do your shadow work, don't try to look at your shadow, or don't try to find out what's wrong, or go deep. We just want to try and work through things, try and grow with the situation, try and be more positive, more optimistic that things can get better, and you'll find a way through.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially as the Lunar Magic Oracle deck, it's like you are here for illumination and hope and light and clarity. It's like it's a different energetic than maybe a shadow deck. Or again, it's just knowing which deck resonates with you at what time and what your guides want to work through at what time. So, speaking of the deck, so I do a segment every week called Sitting with Spirit, where I sit with our angels and guides and give the message for the collective. And when I have Oracle card deck creators on the pod, I really love for you to be the guest practitioner for Sitting with Spirit and give the message for the week from your deck. So if you're open to that, I would love for you to pull a card and give a message for the collective.
Sounds good. 1 second.
Of course.
Right, so here it is. I'm so pleased that you like the deck and you've been enjoying working with it.
I really have. And you know what? I also think it's so synchronistic that your book is all about lunar magic and you and I have the same moon sign.
Yeah, I do. I do enjoy the Sagittarius part of my chart. It is nice. It's good to be free spirited and optimistic and love traveling the world, but it's not everything about my personality. Anyway, I will just focus on this for a second.
Sounds good.
Okay, so this is Supermoon. This is honestly, it's one of the best cards in the whole deck. So this is the message for the collective.
Yay, supermoon. Love that. It's the first card of the deck. That's amazing.
Okay, I'm just going to go straight for the spiritual message. When the supermoon shines brightly in your reading, prepare for exciting times and divine blessings coming your way. When this card appears, it signals significant progress in whatever concerns you. Get ready for things to become bigger, better, and brighter. Wonderful new opportunities will propel you forward. Whatever is on your mind when this card comes up, is going to have a significant impact on your life. The supermoon card is a resounding yes from the universe. So be sure to seize all opportunities. The energy surrounding this is extraordinary and expansive. Any questions about your work indicate that you're ascending to a higher level and could become well known for what you do. You inspire others and have a positive influence on them. The moon is also known to amplify emotions. What were we just talking about a minute ago? I can't believe it. And it's said that a supermoon is even more intense than a regular full moon. During this time, it's essential to pay attention to your feelings and those of the people around you, as they may be affected. Emotional outbursts are possible, therefore, it's essential to keep a cool head. And then the lunar wisdom and advice is this is a definite yes from the universe. You could be super successful in your career. This is an exciting time. Enjoy the ride. Look out for amazing opportunities, and you're an inspiration to others. So set a positive example.
Wow, I love that. And it's also so synchronistic because we already read the snow moon description, which we're 4 days away from. And it is a full moon week when this comes out. So that super moon message makes so much sense. I love that message so much. Thank you for sharing that. And did you say you did the art yourself too?
Yeah,
I cannot believe that. It's so beautiful. Like, wow.
it's digital collage art. What happens is you have to collect images. I work with websites like Unsplash and mainly Unsplash. I did get some help from my publisher with some images from another paid one of those image online services. But yeah, it's just about piecing all the layers together and then changing colors and adding effects like starbursts and things like that and changing the backgrounds. And so it's all layers and layers and layers of images.
Yeah. And that to me speaks of your Mercury and Virgo because I'm also my Mercury and Venus in Sagittarius, and I do not have patience for that. So I love that.
Oh, I have a lot of patience for that kind of thing. And in fact, that would be my relaxation. So if I just had a few hours to myself on a Saturday afternoon and I wanted to do something that made me feel good, relaxed, then I would just sit and create more art. So it makes me happy.
It's your Leo creativity mixed with your Sagittarius spirituality and your Virgo design and attention to details. So, what a perfect manifestation of that energy.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Alice. And where can the community find you and work with you and find the deck and all of the things?
So on Instagram, which is my main place where I hang out, it's at Starlight and Sage underscore at the end. And then I do have a Facebook, which I only started recently because I just thought I need to get a Facebook page. And it's Starlight and Sage Alice Kendall. I do readings on Etsy as well. I think that's called Alice Kendall Tarot. If anyone wants a reading, they're the three places to find me.
Okay, awesome. And where can they buy your deck if they're interested in the Lunar Magic Oracle?
Now, really, really interestingly, it's come out at different times in different territories and countries around the world. So, as we record this, it just came out in USA and I think Canada, and a few other countries on the 12th of the 12th. That's the 12th of December. It just came out the other day. And the UK, which is obviously important to me that people in the UK can get hold of it, it's coming out on the 1st of February on the full moon on Imbolc.
No way. That is such another synchronicity. That's amazing. How magical. And so, yeah, this is going to come out January 28th. So, 4 days before Imbolc, and you can get your hands on it on Imbolc. And so, this should be the perfect synchronistic primer for that. So, amazing.
By the time we get to when this comes out, I think it should be then more or less out everywhere. So, in independent online stores. I know that in the UK, I'll just talk about the UK, it's going to be in Waterstones, which is like a really big chain of really big bookstores. It's a really nice store, actually, Waterstones. And TG Jones, which is another store that's national. So it's in both of those online as well, if you don't want to buy things from Amazon. But
Yes.
yeah, there's independent sellers that have it all over the place as well.
Amazing. And I'll just put a disclaimer for Alice too. Anybody that comes on the pod with a big Instagram, we have to say she's never going to DM you or offer you a reading in your DMs. There's only one of her accounts. So be very vigilant for scammers.
And I only do readings on Etsy. So, scammers can't really get around that, hopefully. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing this magical hour with me, Alice. And I cannot wait to keep working with your decks.
I'm so grateful to be invited on here. Thanks so much. And it's so nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Magic Hour podcast. We are so happy you're here. I absolutely love to connect with you all on Instagram at angels_and_amethyst. I love to get your thoughts on each episode, and I get so excited to get your emails to contact@magichourpod.com. Make sure you're subscribing to Magic Hour so you never miss a new episode in your inbox. We have so many amazing guests right around the corner as always. Please make sure to send your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to contact@magichourpod.com, and we'll enter you into an angel reading giveaway with me, which is just my favorite thing, to get to connect with the Hummingbird community in that way. You get a bonus entry if you also send a screenshot of your YouTube subscription and also a screenshot of sharing us on your story and tagging us at Magic Hour Podcast on Instagram. The next giveaway will happen when we hit 288 5-star reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We so appreciate you sharing the podcast with other magical people, and it really helps us keep this project alive. To learn more about me, my work, to book a reading with me, to take a workshop, please visit angelsandamethyst.com. And remember, you are magic.